to accreditation update, Chancellor.
Thank you. By way of background for this conversation, let me sort of provide what I think the landscape in accreditation is. And I would remind the board that we have two members of the Accrediting Commission with us today. Joseph Belinsky and Barry are both members of the commission. And having been a past commissioner myself, let me right up front say that neither of those two gentlemen can or would speak for the commission. And they will be somewhat guarded in what they can say because they do serve on the commission. So if you think they're avoiding a question or dodging, that's probably true. And they're probably doing it for very good reason. So having said that, they do provide the board a level of expertise and knowledge that most local boards, or for that matter, most people don't have. So along in our conversation, we'll take advantage of their expertise. And gentlemen, to either of you, I want you to feel free to add into the conversation. And if I'm suggesting something that is out of line, by all means, let me know that as well. A decade ago, or a decade and a half ago, accreditation was a fairly routine activity in higher education in America. We did have about 14 years ago the first sort of beginning stirrings, something called the sprees at the national level, and that was the sort of first salvo of federal intervention into regional accreditation. And it died a fairly loud and painful death because the Academy rose up and pushed back pretty vehemently, and I think the feds heard and backed off. And then under the Bush administration, the Spellings Commission made a second run at increased federal intervention into regional accreditation, and they had a bit more success, but they too were sort of short-circuited in terms of really overhauling regional accreditation. At the same time, something is important to know, and that is that regional accreditation outside of the boundaries of the United States of America is considered to be the premier system of accountability for colleges and universities in the globe. So it is somewhat ironic that we in the U.S. are sort of periodically talking about throwing it out or dramatically changing it, while the rest of the world continues to say, how can we do what they're doing in the U.S.? So regional accreditation, as all of you know, is a voluntary process. Now, some people argue, well, it's not really voluntary because you can't get federal financial aid for your students unless you are accredited, and that's true. However, it is voluntary, and we do submit ourselves to those standards when we work in a college or university in this country. We, those of us in the academy, develop the standards. We, those of us in the academy, are the ones that hold ourselves accountable to them. We send our own colleagues out to evaluate other institutions, and it is colleagues from other institutions that come to evaluate us. And these regional commissions, not a single national commission, but regional commissions, I can't remember, there are 5 or 6 of them. Six. The Western Association, one of the biggest. I was in the North Central, which name has changed subsequently. Southern Association, they are sort of, as you suggest, geographically based. And they have a lot of similarities. In other words, if you lay the standards of SACS, the Southern Association, next to WAS, they're, and you accounted for regional differences in looking at things, they'd be very, very similar. But they are ways that we can hold ourselves accountable for quality without having the federal government doing that, as is the case in many other countries in the globe who would like, as I said earlier, to emulate us. Having said all of that, this wave of accountability that has hit, frankly, everything in the last couple of decades, whether you're working in a hospital, whether you're working in a, if you want to talk about regulation, go to work in the financial industry, talk to a banker. It seems that increased accountability and regulation is the order of the day for everything. And obviously the conversation we just had about our own scorecard is us trying to do a better job of regulating ourselves, of being transparent. So it's not surprising that under a lot of people in higher ed thought that once the Bush administration hit the back door, that the Obama administration would say, turn their attention someplace else and not worry about accreditation. When in fact, the Obama administration has been, frankly, continuing the focus on increased accountability. Thus, the first document I provided for you, and I won't take a lot of time to read through all of this for you, but I will tell you this is some of the dialogue that followed along behind the State of the Union speech 3 weeks ago. And I would call your attention to the bottom of page 5, where they talk about holding colleges accountable for cost, value, and quality. And in that verbiage, and I can't find it, I had it, thought I had it underlined in this version, but I don't. The third sentence of the bullet point, holding colleges accountable, the president says, the president will call on Congress to consider value, affordability, and student outcomes in making determinations about which colleges and universities receive access to federal student aid, either by incorporating measures of value and affordability into the existing accreditation system, this is the key phrase, or by establishing a new alternative system of accreditation that will provide pathways for higher education models and colleges to receive federal student aid based on performance and results. So this is a not even subtle statement on the on behalf of the White House to regional accreditors. You will either hold colleges more accountable or we will do it for you. Now, many people say, well, this is born out of the administration and the Congress's desire to crack down on proprietary schools, and I think there is some truth to that. But I also believe that any of us in higher education who use that as an excuse to say, oh, they don't really care about us, are just kidding ourselves. They do care about us. And so the regional accreditors find themselves in a very interesting spot. They are on the one hand between colleges, and I would hearken back to the revolutionary period when you heard people say, don't tread on me, because that's how the colleges feel, and the federal government, who has their foot firmly implanted in the backs of the accrediting commission, saying, hold those folks more accountable. Now, I think I have shared with you in writing, but I want to reiterate it because it was a very sobering experience for me, that 3 weeks ago when I was back in D.C., I met with Undersecretary Cantor to talk about this very subject because, as you all know, I've appointed the task force on accreditation. One of the criticisms of the commission is the Western Commission is cracking down on the 2-year rule more than anybody else, and the feds really aren't requiring them to do that. And so I think in order to be able to communicate with my own task force, I need to have asked that question to the feds myself, not go through the commission. And so I asked Martha. And Martha being Martha, she took her cell phone out and laid it on the table, dialed one of the 2 full-time attorneys that they have on accreditation for the Department of Education. That alone should make you nervous. Dialed the attorney on the phone. The attorney came on the line, and basically Martha said, there's a lot of finger pointing going on. I want Bryce to ask you his question himself. And so I went through my question, and at the end said, we just need to get a feel for if the federal government is really holding colleges and the commission accountable for the 2-year rule. And there was this pause on the other end of the phone line, and then a whole lot of verbiage, which ended in basically, yeah, we really are. So pressure that the commission finds itself under is real. There's no doubt about that. I would call your attention, by the way, to two other articles, and you probably are saying to yourself, why in the world would the chancellor, of all the things that are being written, why would he put two different pieces from the Wall Street Journal? What about the Chronicle of Higher Ed and Inside Higher Ed? The reason these are here is to underscore the point that this is not an insider baseball issue anymore. The first of these two pieces is an editorial in the Wall Street Journal pushing back against the commissions. In this case, it happens to be the SACs. And the second is a U.S. news summary from the Wall Street Journal that underscores the part I just read to you from the president's message. The point of these two pieces is to show you that this is not just an inside conversation, and that the business community, as well as public opinion, is well aware of what's going on. Now, it doesn't mean they understand it, and believe me, I think I would be irresponsible. I told you I completely understood it because it's a very complicated issue. But suffice it to say, things are changing, and we need to be aware of that. Now, to the point of today's discussion, if you will go then to the yellow sheets in your binder, this is a summary taken from the February results from the commission meeting of all of the California community colleges and their status of accreditation. And so if you go to page 1, the top college, Allen Hancock, you will read across the name of the district first, then the name of the college, and obviously if it's a single college district, they're on the same line. Lance, is that not in your binder?
Sure, that it is not.
I apologize. We're going to get you another binder.
Thanks. Could have looked over it.
Very hard to see what we're talking about, though, if you don't have the pages. There we go. Okay, so Allen Hancock, then the name of the college. The third is the CEO, and in this case, as in the case of a few of these, you will see it says interim behind it, because that's a leadership transition. And then you will see their status. Now, a lot of people think that there's all kinds of status of accreditation, that you always hear these ads, fully accredited. There is no such thing. It's sort of like that old adage of being dead. You're either dead or you're not dead, but there's no in between.
Fully dead.
Isn't that right?
Yeah, mostly. I was thinking.
I should have said brain and heart dead, or
That's fully
in
dead.
this case, that's right, fully dead. In this case, you can't be partially accredited. You're either accredited or you're not. Now, if you go down to line 3, you will see Barstow as an example. And by the way, we're not going to delve into the individual accreditation status of colleges in this conversation. There may be some things we talk about, generally speaking, but the purpose of this conversation today is not to talk about college A, B, or C, but to talk about accreditation and how it impacts our colleges and what you as a Board of Governors need to know about that, and then the direction I hope you will give me on what you think I should to do about it. So in the case of Barstow, you'll see again that particular college is on sanction. They're on the lowest level of sanction, and there are 3 of them, and that's called warning. The middle level is probation, and the most severe level, just prior to losing accreditation, is called show cause. So when you look through this summary, you will see all of the colleges and their status, and then when you get to the last page, you will see some of the summary of this, and that is that we have 13 of our 112 colleges that are on the lowest level of sanction, that's warning. We have 6 of them that are on probation, and we have 2 of them that are on show cause. Now, this is actually better than 6 months ago, and probably significantly better than a year ago. in that at one point the percentage was up close to 30%, so it has dropped. However, I would argue that any of our colleges that are on sanction is not good. That speaks volumes about the quality of that institution. And by the way, the reason that colleges are most often put on sanction are because they have governance challenges, because they have financial issues, because they have not faced up to student learning outcomes, because they have planning-related issues. Those are the more common reasons that colleges get put on warning. The reasons they more often get put on probation, and especially show cause, is because they've been told to fix something that they've not fixed. And that's what causes the commission to begin to move them up the DEFCON levels. And you'll hear sometimes, well, gee, we were accredited and all of a sudden we went to show cause. Well, if you drill into those, they weren't overnight. What you probably see is 6 years ago a commission saying you must fix these things, and a midterm report where there were implications those things were being fixed, and then when the team actually came in 6 years later, they'd been ignored and they aren't fixed. And so the commission takes pretty serious action in that regard. Now, having been in 7 years worth of those behind closed doors conversations, the other criticism that you often hear about the commission is, well, the team recommended this, and yet the commission did this. Well, in the first place, that team recommendation is confidential. Nobody's even supposed to know what that is. So somebody's talking out of house. But even if that were to be the case, what you have to understand is that the commission has not only the 112 community colleges in California, but help me, Barry, another 30 or 40 in Hawaii and the islands, Joseph?
And privates.
And privates? So I don't remember how many altogether.
It's about 134.
Institutions. Okay. So the key is when the commission is making a judgment on the accreditation status of Barstow College, and they have the College of the Marshall Islands, which has the same kinds of problems, they must provide consistency in their level of sanction. So a team completely different from the team at the other college may recommend sanction A or no sanction at all, and then another team at another college may recommend a whole different kind of sanction for that. It's the commission's responsibility to be fair with everybody.
Does that mean they move in the direction of the?
Either or. They may weaken the recommendation of a team, or they may strengthen it in order to, again, try to be consistent across the board in a way there. And I think it's probably safe to say there are no two identical reports, but the commission works very hard, and as I said, Joseph and Barry can verify this. Sometimes these conversations will go on for hours on end with the commission trying its very best to be as fair and consistent in how they handle institutions. So when you look at the report, you see just shy of 20% of our institutions on sanction. And another interesting factoid there is that 13% of the institutions currently have leadership transitions going on. And that leads me to the second set of comments I want to make. Last week, in preparation for this conversation, I telephoned about 24 of my colleague CEOs at institutions that are either on sanction or have recently come off of sanction, to talk with them about that process and to glean from them how they thought the process went, did they think it was fair, what did it do for their institution, so on. And again, none of this will be attributable, but let me describe to you what my colleagues are saying to me about this process. And it runs the gamut, as you would expect it to. Institution A, there's been significant gap in in leadership at the college. The institution did this to themselves by not working to meet the standards. There was a poor accreditation liaison officer at the college that subsequently they changed, and that's the person that's on point with the commission and the college to facilitate this process. They worked to be very transparent in responding to the situation since then. The CEO has tried to help people in the college understand they do not need to be perfect in order to meet the standards, but they do have to have systems in place for self-improvement. So you can see an institution here trying to get its arms around. Institution B, the institution would not have changed without being put on sanction. There's a lack of consistent leadership at all levels of this institution. There's no pipeline for leadership in the college. Institution C, the problem at our institution was an aberration. In other words, a unique situation caused this. Did CCJC really have to put the institution on sanction, or could they have just informally told us to fix it? We would have fixed it ourselves. It was created by a vacuum in leadership. The sanction felt mean. In other words, it felt as if the commission was being mean to us. Institution D, the financial and relationship issues are better now. We're still working on administrative capacity. There are problems with weak leadership. The institution is better off as a result of this process. The commission does not always communicate very well. They need to communicate with us better. The problems would not have been fixed without the sanction. Institution E, very satisfied with the entire process. The communications review was fair and accurate. The problem was caused by weak leadership at all levels. Without the commission, it would not have been fixed. I could go on, and I won't, to read these. But what I'm gleaning from, and this is a pretty shirt-tail informal conversation with a promise of anonymity to my colleagues so they would be as candid as possible, is that one thing comes up over and over and over again, and that is that often these institutions find themselves in trouble because of leadership challenges. Either leaders leave in the middle of the process, or they get leaders that aren't successful, or they don't have second and third level leadership, or they have boards of trustees that are struggling, or they have faculty leadership that is unsuccessful in working with administrative leadership. If you read through these, there was only one of the people I talked to that didn't bring leadership up as an issue at the institution. So that then begs, obviously, what you do about all of this. And let me remind you that we have no role to play in accreditation. The Board of Governors has no role to play in that process. Having said that, you do have a role to play, and you've had to play it in the hopeful event that somebody gets to show cause and is unable to solve that problem. And you know that was the case with Compton. A couple of years ago, they lost their accreditation, and this board had to be involved. You also know that on a couple of occasions in recent years, this board's had to put special trustees in institutions that were struggling mightily to maintain their accreditation. In almost all the instances, Compton and others as well, there's often more problems than just accreditation. In this case of many of these institutions, they are in severe financial trouble at the same time, and we usually have some involvement from FitMat in that process as well. So, as you know, back in November, right after I took this job, I was asked by the Consultation Council to reactivate the Accreditation Task Force. And I did that, and we issued a charge, and Steve is chairing that group for me. He had the first meeting of that group right after the Consultation Council meeting, was it last week or week before? Last week. So I've asked that group to provide a report to me in August of this year. Hopefully they'll be able to do that, and so they're on a fast track. I have, when I formed the group, there were two provisos in forming it. One was that this wasn't going to be a lifetime job. We were going to take a hard look at this within a period of time, and then we're going to be make a report and take some action. And secondly, that while we're undergoing this process, the various groups, constituent groups, wouldn't go off on their before they started doing something more severe. So the task force is working along. As you can see, I'm doing a little bit of research on this, but I think the long and the short of it is the next 2 or 3 years are going to continue to be a challenge in accreditation. And the reason I believe that is because I think there's going to be more and more federal pressure. I think that the colleges are likely to continue to have the difficulty meeting the standards, not because they don't want to meet them, but because they're not as engaged as they need to be, and because the standards now are, we've had 10 years of student learning outcomes, and yet I think some of the colleges are going to struggle to meet that. When I read and hear all there is about leadership, I'm reminded not only as a commissioner and a team chair, but as a system leader, that often colleges don't realize what's involved to maintain accreditation until it's too late. Frankly, if a board in a college engages in accreditation 6 months before a team comes, it's irrelevant. It's not going to do you any good. The truth is, the decision really on whether a college will or won't do well in accreditation is about 24 to 36 months before the team ever shows up. Because the standards are designed so that you must have an ongoing planning process that's been through cycles that you can show is continuous improvement, and the same thing for SLOs, all the rest of the you have to have that stuff in place to meet the eligibility requirements and the standards. And if you don't worry about that until 9 months before the team comes, you've waited too long. So there are a couple things that I think I'm going to delve into more. And I've asked Keith and the foundation to begin looking at this. And that is that I think there's a real void of good basic in-service for brand new college presidents, especially those from outside of the state of California. And I think there is a shortage of good in-service activity for brand new trustees, local trustees. And so Keith is working with foundations to try to identify some seed money for us to do, not us to do it, but for us to create a robust plan for helping new CEOs and newly elected Board of Governor members, probably setting some standards on voluntary that we might suggest to local boards they inflict on themselves to try to ensure that their brand new CEO and their brand newly elected board members are going to get exposed to the things that are going to help them be successful, especially as it relates to accreditation. The other thing that I think, unless you tell me otherwise, that I'm going to begin doing with my colleague CEOs is speaking out much more forcefully on this issue. Next month, later this month, at the Northern California CEO Conference and at the Southern California Conference in April, it's my intention to have some more direct conversation with CEOs about their responsibility to meet the eligibility requirements and fulfill the standards and get these colleges back into good accreditation status. Now, I'm liable to hit some headwind there because I have colleagues that believe the commission is being overly punitive and believe the commission is not communicating well, and I could go through the litany. They're not fair, and on and on and on. So I'm prepared for that. But I believe it's frankly a California embarrassment to have 20% of our colleges on some form of sanction. And for me as the system chancellor, even though this board does not have direct responsibility, to just sit idly by and watch that, as far as I'm concerned, is not advisable. We need to step up, and we need to say to trustees and to CEOs, you need to meet these standards. Again, if you don't like the standards or don't like the way the commission's doing its work, there are other ways to deal with that. And I don't have any qualms with a CEO who says, I don't like the standards, I'm going to say, get involved in the rewriting of the standards. Provide input. Go and testify. Or if I get folks who say, we don't believe the commission communicates well, we don't believe they train their team members very well, we don't believe they are consistent, then great. Give that input to the task force, and we'll provide that feedback for the commission. But that's a separate issue from a college meeting the standards. It's like, I hate to use sports analogies, but it's like arguing with an umpire. The rules are the rules. And if you don't like the rules, then go into the process and get the rules changed. I'm okay with that. But in the meantime, we need to get these colleges off sanction. We need to make certain that they meet the standards, and that we look back 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now and have both answered the question, do we want to change the standards? And by the way, I suspect some of that's going to be way out of our control with the federal government. And do we think the commission's doing a good job at its job? But at the same time, we'll have a better status of accreditation for the colleges in our system. With that, I'd be happy to open it up. I would like to open it up to a conversation, because I really would appreciate your direction. If you don't want me, flailing at this windmill, tell me that.
Yes, I wanted to say that I thought I really enjoyed your presentation. It was very informative. I thought the most informative thing was when you listed all those remarks from your colleagues at the different institutions. And besides the leadership issue that was consistent through most of that, the interesting thing I thought was the fact that most of them said that the sanctions actually were a positive thing, that it actually got them to actually change. If it weren't for the sanctions, that that weak leadership would not have actually acted upon any of those issues. So I think that in conjunction with your planned foray to get your colleagues to your local colleagues to take this seriously, I think it's a good thing, because even if you were to say that there were deficiencies in communications with the commission, as you said, the standards are still the same, and the sanctions actually helped in actually getting them to implement those standards. So I think that at the end of the day, what we want are the colleges to be functioning at their highest level, and I think that this I would be very supportive of you doing what you're going to do.
There's something that you mentioned it yesterday. We had a board retreat at Mount SAC, and Mount SAC has done it very well through the accreditation process. And this used to be very true a number of years ago, and that was that accreditation came every 6 years, year and a half or 2 before it came. You started preparing for it and so forth. But the thing that sticks out in my mind, and I think this is the direction that you're suggesting that we go in terms of training and so forth, is that accreditation, Mount SAC, is a continuous process. And so it gets integrated into the life of the organization, so that accreditation isn't just something that pops up and you got to respond to it. I think there's a good number of colleges still functioning that way, and probably many of these that are on some form of sanction or another may very well be looking at that. And it's not necessarily that the trustees are, or even that the CEO is, but somehow or another the institution hasn't acquired that culture of self-examination, continuous self-examination. Jeff?
No, after you.
Oh, thank you. First off, I wholeheartedly support your engagement with this and the systems engagement with it. It's just to recount a story that I've been a part of, because everything you said rang true to me, and what you heard from the systems is what I hear on the local level. 4 years ago, Pasadena City College put on warning. We're all told, oh, they don't understand us, or they misinterpreted this, or you're given this sense as a trustee that things are more in compliance than sometimes they're not. And so then I cornered John Nixon, who's on the commission, saying, how could you have done this to us? And what's going on here? I hear it's really off base. And And then he says, and he explains that there's a lot of things that were clear to the administration that aren't always clear to trustees. And so I think it's very important for all the trustees to be engaged and informed. And it's frustrating to me to see that not all trustees take advantage of professional development opportunities to better understand academic administration, academic accreditation, and all that too. We all get elected, and then we know we're going to have to go to our board meetings a couple of times a month. But when you get elected, you also should realize that you have to invest the time into professional development. And sometimes the league or the ACCT offers that type of training, but some trustees get this sense that, oh, I don't want to be seen as traveling on the district's dime, so I'm not going to leave my district. I'm just going to gather that all locally, and because they want to portray themselves as sometimes being fiscally responsible. And I just think when San Francisco City College came to us and the board chair told us he wishes that trustees were trained more on accreditation. The more we can do that and make that a required part of your job, the better. So thank you for doing that.
Member Linsky, Member Berg.
As you're reaching out to groups, if this statistic that I heard the other day is correct, it's also helpful to reach out to the ALOs, who are often the CIOs, because a comment was made about 3 days ago that 60 of the 112 CIOs are new. So if almost half of your CIOs, people that are leading the cause, and what's the transition from the person who left the position to the person coming into the position to lead this effort at the college? I think that's one. And I'm going to say a little bit more about this in my report out tomorrow, but at the last Accreditation Institute, sponsored by the ASCCC, the Academic Senate for California, probably the most engaging session for me was a general session provided by a gentleman at Feather River College, Nathan Tharp, Dr. Nathan Tharp, who did his dissertation, just completed it recently at CSU Sacramento, and it's actually posted on the ACCC website under the Accreditation Institute, where he did a study on college culture. So he didn't go after accreditation or other things. He went after the culture of the college, and he picked 2 colleges that have been on sanction 5 times or more, and 2 colleges that have never been on sanction, and compared the cultures, and it was just phenomenal. And interestingly enough, it made me think of my own district at times, not currently, but in the past, where faculty, for example, were feeling we're getting nowhere. Nobody's listening to us about our new PeopleSoft system, our new database system, our new this. I'm telling the commission. And the minute the commission team walked in, because that became the culture, we can't fix things. We've got to get this external body to fix these things for us. So I do think, and I have a few more notes to say tomorrow as my report out, but I do think that this dissertation is just very interesting approach to look at all of the difference. And he interviewed 14 people, and he's got numerous direct quotes from them that I think are very much worth looking at.
Me? Okay. Well, as you all know, we're on show cause, and what you said today was very interesting and very, very helpful. What I'd like to say is this, that our trustees, by and large, are not serious about the show cause. I don't think they understand, and I don't think they care. And I think that is a major issue for us, and we really need to have somebody come in who is as lucid as you are and explain this piece by piece by piece, because this is a very, first of all, we've got 85,000 students. It's not a college that's going to go under. It's a college that's extraordinarily important to the community. And it's very troublesome. And we're struggling with interim chancellors, not 1, but 2 or 3 of them. And that doesn't help with the stability of the college. But by and large, to me, the most important thing is that you must get to our trustees. There are 2 or 3 of us out of 7 who really understand accreditation and have been working on this, have been going, step by step by step. But the rest of them don't care, they don't understand it, and they don't know that they're bringing their own institution down. which is what's happening. And it's for all the years I have spent at City College, most of my adult life has been spent at City College. This is an amazing institution. 85,000 students is a wonderful institution. The faculty is beginning to get out of line as well. The faculty is picketing, of all things. You know what? They can keep on picketing, they'll have no jobs. I mean, I'm sorry to say that, but that's what's going to happen. Everybody took a cut. Everybody took a cut. Most of us who are trustees gave our money back. We did not take our money away. I would feel really terrible to take a dime from City College. So everything I get from City College goes directly back, and hopefully, I also personally took my own savings to sponsor 2 classes that had to be cut because we didn't have the money. I just pulled the money out, and I said, these 2 classes are very important, and they were very important. They were both ESL, and they were to immigrants, and those immigrants will go nowhere unless they speak English. So anyhow, that's neither here nor there. The point is that we have a big problem, and I'd love to have you come and speak to us, and speak as candidly as you did here today, because this is a serious issue, a very serious issue. And we've spoken to the mayor. He's very annoyed with us because we educate and we train the workforce of San Francisco. He's not happy about this because a lot of the classes are closing. There's just so much dissension. It's a real struggle. So I would be really grateful if you and/or a group of people would come and speak to the board and make them understand how really important this is, and how dedicated we all are, and what a travesty it would be to the entire city and the whole community. And the mayor, I gather, I can guarantee you, since I was president of the meeting, is not a happy camper with City College. So I hand that to you in the hopes that you can help us, and we need to get, I think, a permanent chancellor, which will help us tremendously.
Creating an effective culture is a difficult thing to assess, but it's got to begin with the trustees and the CEO.
It does.
If there's no understanding there, then there's no hope. Some places have greater challenges than other places, we well know. So, but if at least the trustees and the CEO aren't on the same page, then there's little hope.
I've had just a horrible week dealing with this issue at COS. And the general public doesn't understand the role of the Board of Governors, because my community and community leaders are holding this board accountable. That why, if COS was put on sanctions 6 years ago in 2006, and we knew that as a board, why didn't we intervene and help them restructure their problems or resolve their problems? Why did we let this get to this point? And I'm talking about really well-educated people in the community that are the business leaders and the like. And we can say that, we don't have any role in this process, and we can talk about the academic approach, but the truth of the matter is these colleges are extremely important, especially in these rural areas, because they don't have any other form of higher education for their students to go to. We don't have a state university in Tulare County, and it's deteriorating by the day. And unfortunately, the superintendent of COS is a new hire, falls in that category. I don't believe he's ever had a community college experience. He was a K-12 superintendent. He has a split board that doesn't work with the faculty and the trustees. And I'm afraid it's just going to build on itself and get worse by the day, because he even went as far as to form a community task force of business leaders that's going to defray any criticism of the college. That's their whole focus, is to convince the community that they have the greatest community college in California, and be damned with the accreditation process. That's how far off they are. And it really concerns me. And they say to you, you're on the Board of Governors, that you oversee these 112 colleges. Why aren't you offering to help and do something about this? So there's a major gap between where Dr. Harris is coming from and the general public. And I don't think COS is different than a lot of other schools. I really don't. I don't think the general public, and I'm not sure even the faculty or the Board of Trustees understands their role. If those trustees are the same trustees that were there 6 years ago, they had to hear this story the first time when they were put on sanctions. Why didn't they step in and do something about it? It's not a whole new group. It's the same trustees. I think one member isn't there that wasn't there 5, 6 years ago. And this really troubles me, and they're blaming us.
Blaming whoever they can.
Yeah,
Or
that's right.
whoever
That's right.
is in the line of fire.
Yeah, I think it has to be impressed upon them that from a technical legal standpoint, we don't have that, but as Chancellor's mentioning, there are some things that we can do to help the process along.
Manuel?
Member Maluman?
Well, those are both heartfelt stories, so I'm switching the subject a little bit. Is there a way we could pursue, so this is a controversial thought, when people want to move up in leadership, a way for them to change campuses without losing all that tenure and retirement? Is there something that maybe we should be looking at as a board that might help leaders develop and allow them to do that?
Well, the initial question you asked, as long as they are in California, there are a lot of protections for them. But the more germane issue you raise is leadership training. And the truth is, yes, I think there's a lot more we can be doing. For example, I do believe, and I understand what Member Goff said a moment ago about trustees not wanting to travel on the company dime, and CEOs who are brand new in a job, reluctant to go away. But one of the things that Keith and I are trying to do is get some foundation support to run a 3-year pilot where we pay for those people to come and to take an intensive, probably 2 or 3 day activity that really talks about what it means to be, a CEO in a California community college. Accreditation being an issue, but a myriad of issues. And the same thing for new trustees, who many of whom don't understand the exposure they have when they assume the mantle of trustee. I mean, they like, FitMat reports that come in and say your institution is in financial jeopardy. A lot of trustees don't realize what that means to them as an individual, personally. So I think if we can craft this strategy, and again, make it voluntary, but then what would be great, I think, would be to go to the local boards and say, we think you should pass your own board policy that requires your new CEO to go through this training, that requires your newly elected board members to go through a robust training, so that people do have, especially those who have never had a board reporting relationship directly to a board, or brand new elected officials who've never held public office, help them understand some of these leadership transitions that, when I talked to all these people, and every single one of them, without me prompting, said, well, 2 years before the team got here, we had a leadership change. And I can almost guarantee you, I didn't have the time, but if I went through and drilled into all those colleges on sanction, went back 24 to 36 months, I can almost guarantee you a bunch of them had leadership transitions right then. Right at the time the college need to be getting ready for that accreditation that's coming 2 years down the road. And I don't think a lot of boards realize when they have a leadership transition then what that means
Well,
2 years from
and
now.
I like that, but really what I mean is, if you're in a smaller college and you do want to try leadership, sometimes you have to go to another college. And don't you lose tenure?
You do. And you're talking here about an evolution of leadership as opposed to
Right, that's what I mean. That's what I'm talking about. And
transition into leadership.
and
There aren't any provisions for that.
that's what I'm asking.
there-
I mean, is that a change of law? Is that something that we should explore? I'm just
There was
asking.
a change of law in the early 90s about administrators moving from one campus to the other, because under the old law, administrator come into administrative position, particularly in instructional area, would earn tenure immediately
Okay.
by virtue of just having
That's the
taken.
CSU and the UC have that structure.
Okay.
Community colleges do not. And I'm not sure, by the way, that I would argue necessarily for that. think most faculty who make a transition to administration understand the sacrifices they need to make to do that. I mean, many of us around this table who have done that understood. When I left a 19-year tenure in the Kansas City system that I lost tenure. I mean, it's just the way it works. That didn't prohibit me from seeking.
So that's what I'm asking
And
is,
I
would it
guess-
help with leadership development if they had flexibility in
I
that
might-
area?
I might have a slightly different view, because I think that certainly individuals who are risk takers will do it. I guess the question that we don't quite understand is, what about individuals who may evolve into a leadership position and who have skill levels, but maybe haven't discovered them yet?
Mm-hmm.
And at a critical time in their life, when they're maybe in their 30s, early 40s, when they have young kids and family, and they're having to question the loss of tenure and then transitioning, it might affect it. I haven't seen a study that should suggest that is absolutely true, but there is plenty of anecdotal where individuals say, I can't move into this. I'm not about to move into a district, and if they see something like this where there's a great volatility, and put themselves at risk of being out of a job in a year or two. There are some provisions that provide that, a 1-year option, but that almost falls on the trustees to decide whether or not they want to allow that, and then that's something that's worked out internally, a probationary period, and then they get into a new cycle of earning tenure. So, Chancellor, you're absolutely right. I mean, if the great risk takers, such as himself, you take those chances, and you absolutely want those. But what's the impact on some others who may not
Right.
quite have that?
And I just want to finish with, I like the idea of particularly out-of-state presidents or chancellors, because like Daniel LaVista is resigning, and he came from out of state, and he came into a big system, and it's kind of sad, Hopefully, he would stay there a long time and work on that big system. So I don't know anything about his decision, but that group probably needs a little more care.
Well, this high turnover of leadership in our colleges, at all levels, by the way, not just the presidency, is a real challenge. I mean, the average tenure of a college president in California is about 3.8 years, and that's way, way too short.
Yeah.
So we do need to be doing some things to extend it.
Member Berg, I don't know if you are.
I want to know if I could cede 2 minutes to my colleague, Trustee Greer, behind you.
Okay, before that, Member Reed, did you have something?
Well, we had this board had a thorough vetting of this issue about leadership, and I like what Debbie was saying. In Lake Tahoe, about 4 years ago, that we found that we had like 51% of our college presidents' positions were open, and we had interim management. And it just seems to me this problem has been going on for so long. One of the other aspects of coupling with the foundation would be to go to the very institutions that are doing the training in these doctorate programs of people that want to come into administration and be chancellors, to have that part of their curriculum at USC, or there's a few schools in California that are really renowned for where these people come from with these degrees. It seems to me that should be something we should be tapping into as well, and prioritizing the importance of accreditation as part of that process.
Vice President Vaughn, did you have something?
Just to add on that, Member McDougall had been passionate about this issue, and I believe part of our relationship with the Cal State was also to develop some of those leadership opportunities as well.
Do we have a comment from the public, or is that?
We will from San Francisco.
Go ahead, Anita.
Go ahead.
I'll be brief. I just wanted to piggyback on my colleague's statement about City College, and I'm really glad.
Do you mind going to the microphone over there?
Sorry to make you do that.
Yeah, before you came in, they said our meetings have to be televised, even our retreats. It's a new law.
We're used to that.
I'm Anita Greer, and from City College of San Francisco. And I wanted to piggyback on my colleague's statement about what is happening at City College of San Francisco. And the reality is it's a plus and it's a minus. The plus is that it's come to our attention the kind of things that we need to correct and make changes for our accreditation. The comments about board members, we've always had a policy of training. We have gone to California Community College League of Training. We've also gone to ACCT for training. And just in the Bay Area, there are opportunities for training. We do have a lot of new board members who, for the reason that someone said, that they don't want to be looked at as someone who is spending money by traveling on, the college's dime. But the reality is that kind of training and workshops are needed so that they can learn about what the process is in being a good trustee at a community college. And unfortunately, at our college, we've made some rules that are not consistent with what we should be doing. And the plus about the accreditation is that the things that we're doing in terms of doing corrective actions on the 14 items that we were found non-compliant in is that it really has brought our board together. We're a 7-member board, and in fact, we were a split board for a very long time. And it's very difficult to have consensus on things that we know are correct and in line with what we need to do for accreditation. But we're getting there. The reality is that once we do that, it has to continue. It's not something to be done just for accreditation's sake and forget it. And I'm just not so sure that our board understands that. And that's why the training, the ongoing workshops, the ability to travel is very important. And then finally, we are really in need of a permanent chancellor. There are really problems when you have an interim chancellor. We've had two. And in fact, it causes problems with our faculty and our staff because the belief is that, well, they're not going to be here long enough to make any changes or do anything. So, the faculty and the staff have gotten kind of out of hand. And so we do need a permanent chancellor. And in fact, once that happens, I think we can get on with our business of continuity and doing the corrective actions related to the accreditation. So that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you.
I have a question. Because you said your board members are hesitant to spend money on training, have all your board members in these past few years gone through trainings, or did some of them turn down those opportunities?
They turned them down. And then once the accreditation team came in and made that as a recommendation, actually a requirement, they did go. But they had every opportunity to go. There was money put aside for training, and they refused to go. And so now they are going. And, for them to say that, we didn't know. And most of them don't come from the field of education. And most of them know little about the community colleges, and especially San Francisco Community College.
Well, and that's my comment when you said some of your board members didn't want to spend the people's money. Why don't they pay for it themselves?
That would be an option. And we have another member of the public that would like to address this issue. But many board members who have run on a platform of criticizing the profligate spending of the administration or the trustees. And so then all of a sudden they want to make a political statement. And it's right, that's the mindset we have to address. Michelle Pilati?
I'll be quick.
You have to go to the mic.
I think I'm loud enough. My day is very much bookends. I began my morning at FAC on a panel with representatives from Redwoods, Cuesta, and City College of San Francisco, and a big part of the conversation, and really the two colleges that are now off of show cause, we're talking about that need for that institutional shift, but it takes work to get there, and they were acknowledging that. And then on the financial front, one thing that they were pointing out was there was often a hesitancy to invest district resources in the ongoing work that's necessary to be done all the time so that you can be in good shape with respect to accreditation. And I think that's a piece of the puzzle that local trustees have to understand, that it takes district resources to keep you on that right path. And it's a lot easier to stay on the right path than to get off of it and have to get back on it. And it was interesting that I want to call you Manuel, but I'm trying to be formal here. You touched on exactly the things that were talked about as far as the cultural elements, and it's about believing that accreditation is a good idea and that it's good for the institution and it's ongoing. It's not just 2 years ahead. It's all the time that you're thinking about it, so that when it's time to do a report and time to do all that work, it's already half done. It's just a matter of pulling everything together. And so I'm really happy to hear you sort of saying the things that I'm saying. I sort of felt like I was there to defend accreditation. But you have to, if you want to be accredited, you have to, if you want to be a California community college and get apportionment and do good for your students, you have to be accredited and you have to do whatever you can. And I also thought it was interesting. We have training opportunities for everyone except for CEOs, as far as I know. So I think that's sort of an interesting observation.
It's very
Thank you.
interesting.
Maybe that's supposed to be us, huh?
Yeah, no, that's right.
Members,
Just real quickly, I just want to, really found Member Berg's comments very interesting and helpful. I'm just curious, on your particular board, when you say that a majority of the folks still at this point don't seem to comprehend the seriousness of their situation. I mean, given the fact that, it seems like it'd be impossible not to, understand that. What reason would you conjecture as to why at this late stage they don't get it?
I think there's several reasons. One is, in part, they really don't understand it. They're reasonably new to the Board of Trustees, and they pretty much came to be hotshots. They ran for office to be in office, not because of City College, and most of them don't know anything about it. And they all have, it's unfortunate, they've got an individual agenda, each one, so you can't really bring people together when they're all going in different directions. So we're trying to make them understand. Frankly, we're having the same problem with the faculty. The faculty, in fact, took a big hit. Everybody took a big hit at City College, 9 to 12%. That's a lot of money of salary that was taken away. The faculty, however, are lucky to have jobs, and many of them are tenured, but what are they doing? They're picketing. And not only are they picketing, but they're bringing the students to picket. That's not helpful. It's not helpful, and you're not going to be productive for anybody. And we're going to have to deal with that along with everything else, which is why it is vital that we have a strong, permanent chancellor in this district who takes charge. We can no longer have chancellors who just kind of stand back and say, well, I'm interim, I'm not going to be here for too long, so I'll just try to make it work. And so I'm pleading with you to find some really good, strong administration for us. It's a tough school. I mean, it's tough. We have a lot of faculty, we have a lot of administration, and we have 85,000 students, and that's a small city. San Francisco is not a big city, it's a small city. And I'm happy to say that the college is really well regarded everywhere, in and outside of San Francisco, so that we're making it work as best we can. But a little help from us would be really, really helpful if you would come down and talk to the board members. The problem with our board members is that it's a small city and people run for office to do just that, just to be in office. Doesn't matter. Many of them choose the Board of Ed because it's an easy place to get elected, and they think the same of City College, that it's an easy place, and I don't know whether they accept their money or they don't accept their money. I don't really care. I know what I do with mine, but the fact is they're not being trustees because they really don't understand the community college. They just don't. I mean, they understand politics, but they don't understand community colleges. So we're working with that, but you can't stop people from doing that.
Yeah, well, we keep obviously hoping for the best and encourage you to
Thank you. I appreciate
keep
it.
plugging away. I know
It'll
the
be okay.
chancellor is willing to do
it'll be
whatever
okay.
he
Yeah.
needs to do to help San Francisco out.
Thank you, and I think with, and he has been there and has been very
And
helpful.
he'll continue to
Thank you.
support that. So, I guess just one last thing on this, and that's Chancellor started up by saying that even though we don't have a role with accreditation, we will position ourselves to try to help particularly CEOs and trustee boards to understand the accreditation process and the things that need to happen there. Okay, if there's nothing else, then we can move on to board committees and maybe spend just about 15 minutes on this so we can break around 4 o'clock. And those of us that have not checked in can check in.
If you go behind the last tab, the first one you have is the board member assignments, and you'll notice that there are a number of committees on there, many of whom don't exist anymore. And so if you go to the next page, you will see what is left, and we still do have an active Student Affairs Committee. And on the right-hand side, this board appoints 2 members of the Foundation Board, and then there are 2 more committees that are statutorily required, and we don't control those meetings. We simply respond when there are meetings. What I had provided for Dr. Baca was, because generally speaking, the committees, to have committees, you end up with creating these groups that normally run along parallel or beside existing processes in the institution. And so what might be a approach for you to consider is to, as Dr. Baca has done with Veterans Affairs, to affiliate yourself with things that you are interested in within the purview of the Chancellor's office, and then we will simply make certain that as those issues arise and are being worked on, that you are certainly sought out and fully informed, so that we end up with board members serving as advocates for various issues as opposed to creating committees that simply eat up a lot of your time. With that, Dr. Baca, as a background, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. So I guess at this point we can see if there's any interest among you right now, or maybe we can, working with myself and Vice President Baum on,
I have some
what it is that.
questions before we start doing that.
Okay.
The California State University Doctoral Program Committee, does that still exist?
No, it does not.
Okay.
And so when you look at the second
Okay,
page,
I
it's
just wanted
gone
to clarify.
because it doesn't exist anymore, nor does CPAC.
Oh, yes.
Right.
So this was a pretty outdated list.
And I am
Well.
on the Economic and Workforce Development Program Advisory Committee,
Okay.
in addition to Henry.
Glad to know that. Thank you. Sorry we don't have you on here, Dr. Mallion.
And I
We'll
don't,
get it.
I don't know if that committee has me as, we'll have to ask Vaughn, but I know I'm on it, but I
Good.
don't know if I'm a.
We'll make certain that
This is what we're doing here, and the Committee on Legislation, I know that after Vice Chancellor Garcia left, we kind of stopped communicating.
Yeah, and we may, again,
And,
we're in the process of filling that slot. We may reactivate that group on down the road.
Yeah, because I think it was myself and one of the our former student rep made up that committee.
Could I, first off, I applaud the effort, and I think that it helps clarify certain things, that things that we're mandated to have representation on, and then things that are areas of interest or priority. So what I would recommend then is, instead of kind of dividing it up right now, since now if we're heading in this direction, we should see if the rest of the board feels this is a good direction ahead, and then we would survey the board members for areas of particular interest, because we haven't done this since a number of the board members had even joined, Member Belinsky, Member Hawkins, Member Berg, and our 2 students. So
There always is a danger with committee work of governing boards to get too involved in day-to-day operations and the operational side of things. But I think that there's great value in drawing some broad pictures with regard to direction based on what the board as a whole is doing. So, just a matter of keeping that in mind as we venture off into these committees. So, what what's the pleasure of the,
I liked what he said.
Yeah, so you,
okay,
so we would come back, we would survey the board members or, under your direction, and then come back to the May meeting with probably a suggested slate of appointments.
Vice President Baum and myself, and I will, reach out to you and see what it is that.
I guess it's just the matter of this, like access, student success, and accreditation are the proposed kind of task force kind of things.
Just to give you an idea of some of the areas that, are consuming a lot of time, and some of you may have a special interest in.
Okay, so we'll pick up on that. Any other comments before we adjourn?
Just logistically, a couple things. The board is scheduled for dinner at 5 o'clock, and if you would like a glass of wine, there's a little lobby right outside the restaurant, which is right on the opposite corner.
We have a member of the public who.
Yeah, we do need to have a public forum, and then we'll convene for dinner at 5, and tomorrow morning.
I'm forgetting, is the dinner here or somewhere else?
No, the dinner's on this floor, in the opposite corner of the lobby in the restaurant. There's a private area where the board's going to have dinner.
Okay.
And then tomorrow morning at 9:30, and Dr. Bach and I are representing the board at a fact breakfast, so we'll be slipping in right on time, but we've agreed to keep one another on schedule,
Right.
so we'll start at 9:30 sharp.
So the bus leaves here at,
Oh, no, Nanjiri's not here.
I think, 9:10. And don't
10
leave
after 9.
without me tomorrow, like you've done
We won't.
before.
We promise we won't.
So that's at 5 PM? We're supposed to be in the lobby for the,
The dinner in the other
The
corner.
van will be here
Yes.
at 9:10.
And if anybody wants a glass of wine, we'll meet you at 4:30. And we do have a public forum.
Yeah, I won't.
Okay, well, public?
I'd like to, from Samantha Elliott, from the Student Senate of California Community Colleges.
Good afternoon, President Baca, Chancellor Harris, and members of the board. My name is Samantha Elliott, and I am a Governance and Policy Senator for the Student Senate for California Community Colleges, Region 10, and I'm the student trustee from Grossmont College from the Grossmont-Cuyamaca District. I'm here representing President Rich Copenhagen and the Student Senate. As a general update on the activities of the Senate, we are holding our biannual General Assembly in Burlingame at the Hyatt Regency, April 26th through 28th. We would invite all of you to attend, interact with our students if you're able to. We've sent out invitations to important stakeholder groups to participate in a work group that the SSCCC is convening to address significant deficiencies in legislative support for CalWORKs programs on community college campuses. We are looking forward to partnering with the Board of Governors and the Chancellor's Office in that conversation. The Student Senate has been actively supporting colleges in the last few weeks as issues of statewide concern arise at local colleges. Recently, President Copenhagen attended a meeting of the Long Beach District Board of Trustees at the request of the students regarding the lack of student involvement in decisions made by the district regarding discontinuance of 11 programs in the district. President Copenhagen also attended a meeting of the Associated Students of Pasadena City College at their request as they took a vote of no confidence and censure of the current administration, which also involved lack of student involvement in decisions made by the district. The Associated Students of Pasadena City College President Simon Frazier has sent a request to the Board of Governors Student Affairs Committee requesting a review of shared governance processes and the calendar change at Pasadena City College. The Student Senate will continue to support the local senates in ensuring that students are involved in the district and college governance processes of the campuses. And finally, I think as you all probably know, our annual March for Higher Education is tomorrow, not far from here. Students will be arriving at 7 a.m. The march, yes. The march itself begins at 10 with a rally at the West Capitol steps at about 11 a.m. Students from across the state alongside the Student Senate will be meeting with legislators in the Capitol. That's why you probably have those letters in your rooms saying no vehicles are leaving this hotel for several hours. We hope to see maybe some of you there. Thank you for allowing me the time to speak.
Thank you.
Thank you.